How Powerful Narcissists Use Conspiracy Against You, Part 2. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor, explaining to you how conspiracy theories are used by the powerful against you. Conspiracy theories have arisen countless times in history, and they continue to prosper. Whatever your views might be, conspiracy belief can't be viewed as deviant or abnormal, but actually has to be considered part of normal social life. Today, the collusion that takes place between politics and business, and the growth of a national security apparatus in contemporary democracies, give rises to often well-founded fears about unbridled power or secretive plots. Now, of course, unbridled power is particularly attractive to our kind. It is a means of asserting control and getting the rest of the prime aims. Conspiracy theories have gained large numbers of adherents in the United States and Western Europe. Yet even while they thrive at a popular level, conspiracy theories are actually rarely central to the political discourse of institutionalized democracies. It's taken for granted that politicians shouldn't publicly espouse conspiracy theories lest they be derided and mocked in the media. And of course, therefore, you would suggest that a powerful narcissist wouldn't have a reliance upon a conspiracy theory because they would run the risk of ridicule, resulting in more threats to control. The fact that elected officials have typically not publicly promoted conspiracy theories, with some notable exceptions, testifies to the relevantly constrained temperament of politics, where consolidated democracy and strong institutions prevail. By contrast, even a cursory glimpse at the public discourse outside of established democracies in strong states, that is, in most of the world, reveals how pervasive conspiracy theories are. Substantial percentages of the population of many countries actually take the existence of conspiracies for granted. Furthermore, political elites of all stripes, including democratically elected heads of state, representatives of populist, right-wing and left-wing political parties, demagogic dictators, run-of-the-mill authoritarian leaders, and the occasional technocrat, are all prone to utilizing conspiracy claims. Why? Because invariably the use of a conspiracy claim is powerful means of keeping people under control. A powerful individual has got themselves into a position of power. That individual wants to stay there. They don't want to be toppled. And a powerful narcissist that has their reins on political power, military power, financial power, economic power, popular power, media power, any attempt to remove them or criticize them naturally amounts to a serious threat to control. Using a conspiracy claim is an extremely useful device for that narcissist to then nullify those threats to control. The upshot is that because of the narcissist's need and the lack of otherwise controls, that the conspiracy theories then become a normalized part of the political discourse. As opposed to news stories that agonize about why so many people seem to believe in conspiracy theories, one is actually, in these countries, far more likely to see a straightforward and unapologetic endorsement of conspiracy claims by intellectuals, legislators, and newspaper columnists. This tactic, where a powerful narcissist can use a conspiracy claim, is often found in weak and developing states. The fact is that national narratives about global power and the nature of domestic policies provides a repertoire of material from which conspiracy theories can be readily constructed. But they often are circulating in an informal fashion as opposed to being politically salient. It's when open political intrigue or jarring and unexpected events occur that politicians, powerful narcissists, are more likely to make a turn to conspiratorial rhetoric. The exaggeration and personification of threats enable these powerful narcissists in power to justify their rule when it might be called into question. And of course, calling into question is a threat to control. While it's not the case that it would explain conspiracy theories in politics everywhere, these factors represent the structural link and institutional factors to the deployment of conspiracy claims in order to nullify threats to control and maintain control where it has already been achieved. Conspiracy theories tell a compelling story that many can relate to. There is a misdeed, a perpetrator, a victim, and a motive. The world conspiracy theories describe one where powerful actors can cause harm to society in order to advance their interests. The typical Bond villain, for instance. Their simple yet captivating logic enables people to self-identify as the conspiracy's victims and to imagine solidarity with others presumed to share the same misfortune. Thus, propagating that conspiracy theory, the powerful narcissist causes you to see this could affect me, and so could it affect your neighbour and your other neighbour, and thus you see that you presume to share the same misfortune. This solidarity between you all, seeing a common enemy, bolstered by fear, with a sprinkling of supposed facts in support of it, all mean that it can be harnessed by the powerful narcissist. The solidarity that you share with your fellow workers, with your neighbours, with your family, with the people in your neighbourhood, with the people in your county, with the people in your state, is something that a powerful narcissist will readily harness by triangulating you. The conspiracy theory enables you to be triangulated with that scapegoat. Did you know that they are prone to kidnapping children and sacrificing them in a devil-worshipping scenario? No? Ooh. Well, we don't like that group of people now. Yes, they're the ones that have been responsible for those 2 children going missing last month. Thus, they're scapegoated. There's not necessarily any evidence to support that they were involved in the disappearance of the 2 children. There's no evidence to support the fact that they're supposedly involved in satanic rituals. But the suggestion is put out there. The conspiracy theory begins and gets legs. Driven by fear, a lack of critical questioning, intellectual laziness, the powerful narcissist is able to sow that seed and thus count on your solidarity as your community bands together, driven by the conspiracy theory and triangulated with the relevant scapegoated individual. Instead of viewing conspiracy theories as a type of knowledge which leads to the puzzle of belief, they can actually be seen as a form of narrative, which opens up questions about their social and political uses. Politics is about the authority to set the terms of debate and build coalitions. In political settings where institutions fail to guide behaviour and politicians cannot rely on established parties to generate public support, then, instead, people fall back on focal points or cues that can help their group coordinate. This often involves forming negative coalitions that are at first and foremost defined by their opposition to common adversaries rather than actually affirming to a positive set of goals. Basically, not standing for anything, but being readily against that or them. Common rhetorical tropes include invoking threats, claiming victim status, and who is it that does that regularly? Narcissists, of course. And reducing the legitimacy of one's opponents by linking them to feared or disliked others, all which conform to the logic of a conspiracy. Accordingly, conspiracy theories have many characteristics that make them extremely useful for powerful narcissists, particularly those of political persuasion, at times especially of heightened risk. In much of the world, these powerful narcissists don't need to labour too hard to convince people that malevolent forces are actually the source of their misfortune. Highly suspicious beliefs about the world may be fully justified. Personal experiences shape people's expectations of the risks and benefits of trusting others. Where people have placed faith in others and found their gestures reciprocated, they can reasonably trust others in future encounters. Where they have been cheated, they are justified in avoiding interaction, even if that means they forego future benefits. The cost of getting spurned again may be too high. This predictive nature of people is well known to us. We invariably rely upon knowing the ways that you will behave again and again as you're stuck in your endless loops. And therefore, knowing that at a previous juncture you have felt diddled or spurned or experiencing mistrust is useful knowledge for us to use that against you in the future. Subjective impressions of power follow similar lines. The experience of previous abuse by the state generates justified fears about the everyday likelihood of being exploited again. Once bitten, twice shy. When generalized to whole societies, fear of exploitation can lead to widespread habits of distrust and non-cooperation. Surveys of Russia following the breakup of the USSR consistently show low trust in other people and the suspicion of the elite. This has meant low compliance with the law and is reflected in outcomes such as tax avoidance and resistance to military conscription. Witness the reaction, of course, to the outbreak of war in Ukraine, that many people bolted for the border, that they headed off to Finland to avoid conscription, that as soon as it was announced that these conscriptions would be taking place amongst a particular demographic of Russian society, people decided no, and they left the country. Furthermore, in order to protect themselves, many women decided to go and have their children in Argentina to ensure that they would then have access to a passport which would have greater access around the world because their child is Argentinian and they could piggyback off it. These are just examples of a failure to comply as a consequence of the low levels of trust that exist. In Afghanistan, strong local identities and traditional governance institutions have led to suspicion of the central government and stoked resistance, resulting in the not too distant, in the past, fall of the Afghanistan government. It toppled very quickly as a consequence of the fact that there was repeated suspicion of that central government. I'm going to continue in part 3 with my analysis of how the powerful utilizes conspiracy theories against you, continuing by explaining the bedrock upon which the conspiracy is utilized. Join me there.